afternoon, я вас вітаю, shalom and welcome. My name is Alina Miropolsky. I'm decision making and spiritual coach. And today we're talking about dates, dating, and about red flags. I made a list of 5 red flags. There are definitely much more, but I think those are pretty common and I want to focus on them today. So let's dive in. First of all, I want to say about dating that I always recommend my clients to prefer quality over quantity on dating. So it's very important to think about your deal breakers and your absolute must-haves, be very realistic about it, and think what are like really main things that are not a good match for you, unacceptable, and what things are must-haves that without them you don't see long-lasting relationships healthy and stable for you. It's very individual for everyone. And recently I got a question from a viewer. Thank you for your question, by the way, if you're watching today. And the question was, what if I don't know my deal breakers or must-haves, and I'm pretty flexible and open-minded? And I will give a summary of what I answered because I think it's a very good question that can be very helpful to many viewers, to many people, that we can be open-minded and we can be flexible, and this is actually good to some level, but we also need to be realistic about what we can live with and enjoy for a long time, because there is no goal to suffer and adjust to things that is super bad match for you and super uncomfortable, and there are people that are better match for someone else than you, and there are people that are a better match for you than to someone else. So it's very important to be honest with yourself and imagine everyday life and everyday relationships, how it will look if a person has this or that qualities, or I don't know, tendencies, habits, way of life, problems, issues, or wherever. Just think about it, how it will look on everyday basis, especially when you're getting closer. And it can be something that will help you to know more about your deal breakers and your must-haves. But this video is not about that. It's just a little preview, and of course we can work together. You can schedule a session with me on those topics. But let's dive in and talk more about first date. Let's say you had a conversation online or at work or in a library or any event, I don't know, museum, wherever, where you met a person and you had some nice conversation online or offline, and you decided that you will go for a date together, which is great. But when you arrive to a date, there can be some things that can feel off, that can be like sort of red flags, and we're talking about them today. So the first thing that comes to my mind when I was making a list of top 5 things that are on top of my mind, the first thing is that the person arrives sad, irritated, or just telling you how hard his or her life is, describing personal and professional problems, failures, complaining how bad is his or her boss, how unfair is his or her, I don't know, life, landlord, relatives, wherever, and looking for this support and consolations, this help and encouragement that you will be fine, don't worry, I'm with you, oh, it's so unfair. Like, people are looking for this sort of communication on the first date, and I think it's a red flag for many reasons. But first of all, let's remember that our first date, it's sort of our best behavior when we are excited to meet a new person, when we're in a good mood. We are like hoping that this will develop to something wonderful and beautiful and long lasting, and the person is so irritated or sad or angry or telling you some stories or complaining. So it's what will be next? Like, it's a pretty red flag. Of course, if something happened on the road, for example, I don't know, there was an accident and the person arrives and is very emotional and nervous and apologizing for being late and then telling the story, it's something else. It's something pretty unique situation, and you will need to think what happens next. Maybe you will need one more date to figure things out. But also, you can learn a lot about a new person that is managing a stressful situation. Anyways, what I want to say, I'm never saying don't date anyone or date someone. I'm just saying that red flags is something that you need to pay attention to and then to analyze and think, do I want to continue? Does it worth it? Like, how do you feel about it? Okay, so this definitely should be a red flag. You need to pay attention to such behavior. Some people are just looking for someone to be there, like uh, support team. Some people want to like use your energy and your compassion and your time just to talk through their things, and they're even not looking for relationships. And I saw this a lot, that the person is like dating a date after a date, and my client was already not understanding like why we have like this forced date and it's not going anywhere. But the other person was telling different stories and complaining and like uh, releasing all the, all the negative energy, like many people do with their counselors, psychologists, when they're talking about their fears and worries and what makes them angry and irritated and all those things. But this date person decided that I will just have, will make a new friend, and I will just talk about those things on every time we meet, while my client was thinking that it's going to more romantic direction. And maybe it would at some point, but think of quality of those relationships and the dynamics that will be expected from them. Okay, let's go to second one. It's talking badly about their ex-boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, especially for a long time, and especially if you did not initiate a conversation like with questions like, tell me more about your previous relationships, why did you broke up with your boyfriend, or why did you divorce your wife or husband. And also, it's a pretty big thing, because when you ask such questions, you can expect a person giving you his or her reasoning why he or she broke up with someone, yeah. But still, it shouldn't be like profanity and like curses because he is beep 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 beep, or because she was beep beep. You don't expect this. You expect some reasoning, but also the way the person says those things also means something. And also, we need to think if the person is trying to analyze themselves when they're talking about the negative aspects. And another thing, there are like a lot of nuances here. For example, pay attention if your date breakup was not initiated by him or her, and they're saying very negative things about their previous wife or husband. So it's very complicated. It's also a red flag of its own, because so you didn't broke up with your boyfriend or girlfriend, wife or husband. You were willing to stay in those relationships, but you're saying such negative things about this person now. You're not saying he was a wonderful person, we just were a bad match, or maybe I was not such a good match for him and he decided to leave, and it was a hard moment for me, but I'm over it now, and blah 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 blah. But if the person saying he left me and he is horrible person and he's this and this, and like have a big list of why that person is so bad, so the question is, so why he left you, not you left him. And it's also a red flag to think where it's going. Anyway, there are many reasons why a person talking badly about his or her ex is a red flag. And again, I'm not saying that you shouldn't date this person or you should date this person, but you should analyze and think, what does it mean, and what do you learn from this? The third thing is also a big red flag. When your date person starts an aggressive argument, sort of fight with a waiter or other restaurant or coffee shop workers, it's really alarming. So we can see that there are some anger issues, or they want to impress you this way, so that they think that some anger or aggression, like this is something that is impressive. You know where I'm going with this? It's really alarming. It's totally fine if you got a drink or meal you don't like, in a polite way, to ask a server, like to ask your waiter and say, my apologies, but this is burned. For example, the steak is really well done, hard to chew. I ordered medium, and my apologies, but it is not medium. Can you please replace it with a new one? It's totally fine if you got something you don't like, or you got something you didn't order, to ask them to replace it. You shouldn't be like sitting and being agreeable on everything, no matter how bad is the service, and you need to stand up for yourself. And it's okay if your date will also say something like, my apologies, but the lady ordered this and this, and you brought her something else, can you please change it? It's totally fine. I'm talking about red flags when I'm talking about aggressive behavior. Like, you can see the person is talking loud, screaming, yelling. People from other tables are starting to look at your table, and you see that there is some aggression in it. So it's a big red flag. Usually people that treat waitresses badly, there is something in it, and you need to think, what does it mean for you, and be more careful with this person. I would really pay big attention to this matter. Number 4 is when he or she is very dominant. Dominant, and sometimes, especially women, can find it sort of even sexy or charming. But what I mean by dominant, I don't mean this just is this energy of being strong and decisive and know what you want. I mean that they decide things for you in an ultimatum way. Like, this ultimatum way is like, you don't know this, you don't need this, it's a bad choice, I will order something else for you. And your opinion sort of doesn't matter. The person is just deciding things for you. It's lack of respect. It's not being masculine and decisive. It's being dominant in a non-healthy way. And if this is a first date, so your opinion will matter less and less with development of your relationships. So it's a very red flag. Pay attention to this. It can lead you to really bad or even dangerous situation. Not one person suggests you things. I want to be very clear, because sometimes I'm getting questions. What I'm saying here is, not one person, the person is recommending you. Like, it's totally okay to come to a restaurant that you're familiar with someone new, a friend or a date, and say, I highly recommend you to try this sangria, or their carpaccio is amazing. You must give it a try. But when you order something else, the person should not stop you in the middle of order and say, no, no, no. You don't know what you know. You don't know what you want. I know better. Please order this and this for my friend. Yeah? This is something else. This is not healthy reaction. This is not okay. Number 5, by the way, talking about things that are not okay. And it's very important also to mention, and if you have a gut feeling that you don't feel comfortable or free to be yourself, to relax and enjoy conversation, you feel pressure, like some not verbal signs of how they expect you to behave. And there's very strong like pressure, and you feel that, look, why it's something that I feel that I'm being watched, that I need to do everything right, I need to be good, and I need to behave to his or her expectations, and you feel discomfort. It's a very red flag. Even if you cannot point exactly what did he or she say or how this feeling was achieved, it's a red flag, especially if usually you're relaxed and very sociable with new people. Because if you're a very deep introvert and you usually are stressed with new people, it's harder to understand what is actually happening. Is something is happening, or it's your usual reaction because you're spending your time with someone new. But especially when you're relaxed and very like sociable with new people, if you feel this discomfort, this pressure, those like expectations, and you feel that you're not feeling comfortable to be relaxed, to be yourself, it's a really red flag to think about. Okay, so those are red flags I wanted to speak about today. In short, I want to talk about who should pay the bill in the end of the first date. So, a little preface to this. Um, where should you have the first date in the beginning? First of all, it depends on age. If you're very young, if you're young as a 20, you can take a smoothie and ice cream and go to park and sit there. If you're a little older than 20 or much older than 20, so probably it's not the best option. And if your date is suggesting this option is just let's go to a park, it's also sort of a red flag, especially if you're not a tourist and he wants to show you some landmark or something very special, and you can buy a smoothie. Of course, every situation is unique, but I'm talking overall. If you're older than 20, it will be preferable to have a sit down location. It shouldn't be something super fancy and expensive. It can be a coffee shop like Starbucks, it can be maybe a diner, upscale diner, or it can be a regular like restaurant where you go for your dinner in the evening. Anyway, I would suggest not to order most expensive things. Doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. If you're a woman and the man is planning to pay, it can feel a little off. And I'm not talking about like, oh, he's greedy. No, it's not about greedy. It just feels a little off. It's also like sort of a red flag. If you're a woman and a man is ordering everything most expensive, it's also a little not comfortable. And it can also can be that he's like trying to drag your attention from him to some dishes, beautiful servant, or something else to drag your attention to those things. So don't let it happen no matter what he orders. Be focused on him, what he says about himself, about his life. Focus on your conversation. Your goal is to ask questions and to listen to his or her answers about him, his life, and trying to understand his personality, then focusing on a very unique high-end dish that was served. Anyway, I don't recommend to anyone, not to a woman, not to a man, ordering most expensive dishes in the menu. What can we say about who should pay the bill? So, for many years, my position was that a man should pay the bill. But then I saw that there are many cultural differences in different cultures, especially in countries that have people from different cultures and different countries, less like homogeneous cultures, cultures that have many newcomers in recent like 20, 30, even 40 years, that things are like circulating from generation to generation. So, for example, I was born in Eastern Europe, and even if I grew up in Israel, still I'm more expecting for my date, like a man, to pay for the date. But even if it feels not comfortable for me, probably I will not see it as a deal breaker and this like super red flag If a date expects to pay half, I will definitely not enjoy it. But I would think if it's a person from another culture where it's more common to pay half and half, I would probably pay this half and half. I will somehow not verbally show a little bit that I'm a little surprised or feeling a little not comfortable. Probably it will be also hard to hide because I will be feeling a little not comfortable. And if everything else was good and this was the only thing that I dislike, I will not immediately like say that that's it. This date was burned. It was a bad date. I will wait for second date or even maybe third date, and everything is going well. First of all, I will see maybe on the second date things will change. After I felt some discomfort, I will try to see how does the person reacts. Maybe he was more sensible and he will pay for the second date. And on the third date, probably I will just say that, maybe it's something cultural, but my family comes from Eastern Europe. It's something cultural. For me, I'm just feeling not comfortable paying when I'm on a date. And I would appreciate that when we're going out on a date, that you will pay for us both. How do you feel about that? And according to his reaction, I would see where it's going. Because we need to be like finding compromises and respecting each other, and knowing that for some cultures it's very like not comfortable for a woman to pay for herself. I think it would be fine if you spoke respectfully and openly on your second or third date that went fine, that you would prefer this little adjustment. And if your date will respect it, that's good. If he will say, no matter what, you're not my wife, I'm not paying for you, bye bye. So it's also good for you. So you gave him a chance. But also you see that he's very not flexible and is not willing to go to this pretty small compromise. But again, I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you some ideas about red flags and about communication in new relationships. As a decision making holistic coach, I work with decision making coaching processes, and I work with dating coaching and starting new relationship coaching and setting deal breakers and understanding your must haves. So I'm not working with existing relationships that need some therapy or some change of dynamics, but I'm working with those beginnings of the relationships and thinking about what is acceptable, not acceptable for me, what is comfortable and not comfortable for me. So those are some ideas for you to think about. Please let me know in the comments, do you have some additional red flags that you think it's important to pay attention to when going to a first date? Thank you for watching. I hope this video was helpful, interesting, and informative. Please share this video with your friend that is going for a first date. Subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in my next live stream. Bye bye.